So now what we're going to do is take what we learned in our previous video and apply it to graphs. So I'm going to fold my paper just because I don't have much space. So what we are going to do now is we will be given an equation, not an equation, that doesn't have an equal sign, an expression, and we'll need to describe the translation, sorry. So the first thing I see is inside the parentheses I have a -3. So that -3 tells me I'm going to go inside, tells me it's right or left. So since it's minus, that is going to be a shift right 3. And then over here I have a 4 after the parentheses. That tells me it's a shift up or down. Since it's a subtraction sign, it is down 4. Okay, so how do we do this? Well, if we look up here, when we go right, we have to add to the coordinates, and when we go down, we have to subtract from the y coordinates. So a shift right 3, we will be adding 3 to our x values, and down 4 we will be subtracting 4 from our y values. Well, what x values and what y values? Well, glad you asked. These ones right here. So our x values here, we are going to take all of our x's and we are going to add 3. So start with -6. -6 plus 3 is -3. -2 plus 3 is 1. 3 plus 3 is 6. 4 plus 3 is 7. And 5 plus 3 is 8. Now we'll do the y's. The y's we will subtract 4. So 3 minus 4 is -1. -6 minus 4 is -10. 2 minus 4 is -2. -1 minus 4 is -5, and 4 minus 4 is 0. So now we will graph that. Sorry. -3, -1. So I'm going to go left 3, down 1. 1, 10. So right, 1, -10. Right 1 to -10. Down to -10. 6, -2. Right 6, down 2. 7, -5, so right 7, down 5, and 8, 0, right 8, up 0. And then we'll connect them in the same pattern that this was, so it still makes that W. So notice it didn't change shape. All that happened is it moved to the right 3 and down 4. So you can see it moved right 3 and down 4. Next one, we are going to shift the graph left 5 and up 2. So now I'm going to write this function. So f of x would left or up go inside the parentheses. Hopefully you know that left goes inside the parentheses and left is a plus. So this is going to be plus 5. And then up 2 goes after the parentheses, and it is also going to be added. Okay, so how will we do this? Well, inside happens to our x's, so my x's, but it's left. So the x's are going to get 5 subtracted from them. And outside is your y's, and we are going to add 2 to them. Okay, now I'm not going to use these points over here because that's a different problem. Always going back to the original, so I'm going to do my math from the original. So -6 minus 5 is -11, -2 minus 5 is -7, 3 minus 5 is -2, 4 minus 5 is -1, 5 minus 5 is 0. Now to these y values, remember the original, not this one over here, the original I'm going to add 2. 3 plus 2 is 5, -6 plus 2 is -4, 2 plus 2 is 4, negative 1 plus 2 is 1, and 4 plus 2 is 6. Now we will graph those. So negative 11, positive 5, so left 11, up 5, left 7, down 4, left 2, up 4, left 1, up 1, and over 0, up 6. And then connect them in that same kind of W-ish pattern. So from this one, can you tell that it went left 5 and up 2? If you look close enough, you can see. Okay, flip it over. Now, let's add some multiplication. So, when we have reflections or stretches, that will multiply our x's and y's. And we still might have shifts up and down which add. So now we're going to have multiplication and addition. So let's talk about that. These are transformations, and our transformations must follow the order of operations. Remember, order of operations is PEMDAS, so parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division, addition, subtraction. So we have to, if we do any multiplication, it will come first, before any addition and subtraction. Okay, so let's look at this. Describe the transformations. So remember, f and x are not transformations, but everything else is. So this 1/2 being out front is either going to be a stretch or a compression. Since it's between 0 and 1, it's going to be a vertical compression of 1/2. So how do we do that? So go up to here. How do we do that? We multiply the y coordinates by the number out front. So we are going to take our y's and we are going to multiply them by 1/2. I'm going to put that in a nice happy cloud. Then I have a next thing. What is my next thing? Oh, it's a negative right here. That negative right there is going to reflect, which way? Which way is it going to reflect? Well, let's find out. If we look up here, inside the parentheses reflects it over the y-axis. So this is going to reflect over the y-axis. And how do we do that? Well, again, let's look up here. If it reflects over the y-axis, we need to change the sign of the x-coordinates. Well, how can we change the sign of the x-coordinates? Well, we do that by taking our x's and we multiply by -1. And again, put that in a happy cloud. Then lastly, we have this -4 out here. So it's after the parentheses, so it's going to move us up or down. It's negative, so it is going to shift us down 4. So how do we move down 4? Well, we're going to take the y's and we're going to subtract 4 from all of them. Okay, so now let's talk about that. Well, we said transformations have to follow the order of operations. So notice here the y's are being multiplied. Here also multiplied. Here subtracted. So what do you have to do first? Well, first you're going to have to multiply. Oh, that's still multiplication, so that's also going to happen first. And this is addition and subtraction, so that's going to happen second. So any multiplication has to get done first, addition and subtraction second. If you do it backwards, your points will be wrong, and then you will be sad because your graph will not be correct. Or if you won't be sad, at least I will be. So let's make sure we do our multiplication first. So it looks like I have these points. See, here we go. And I'm going to take my y's times times 1/2. So my y's are going to get multiplied by 1/2. Remember, multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2. And my x's are going to get their signs changed. So they're going to multiply by -1. So this is going to be pretty easy. to change the sign here. So I have negative 6 becomes positive 6, negative 2 becomes positive 2, 3 becomes negative 3, 4 becomes negative 4, and 5 becomes negative 5. This one will be a little bit more challenging. I'm going to multiply these by 1/2. So 3 times 1/2 is 3/2. Negative 6 times 1/2 is negative 3. 2 times 1/2 is 1. Negative 1 times 1/2 is negative 1/2. And 4 times 1/2 is 2. So we've got some fractions on the board we got to deal with, and that is fine. Next, it says we need to take the y's and subtract 4. Well, are we going to start clear over with these y's? Nah, they're old, they're gone, we're over it. We're going to do these y's. So, take the new y's, and we're going to subtract 4. Okay, so 3/2 minus 4, okay, so 4, that would be 8/2, so 3/2 minus 8/2 would be negative 5/2. Negative 3 minus 4 would be negative 7. 1 minus 4 would be negative 3. Negative 1/2 minus 4, okay, so that would still be 8/2. Negative 1 minus 8, negative 9/2. And 2 minus 4 would be negative 2. Now notice, is there anything in here happening to the x's? No, we don't have anything happening to the x's. So these are just going to frolic their way over here. So 6, 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. Ew, that doesn't look very neat. Sorry. So now I'm going to graph these. 6, negative 5/2. So I'm going to go right 6, and then negative 5/2 is going to be negative 2.5. So over 6, down 2.5. Then I'm going to have 2, negative 7. So right 2, down 7. Then 3, negative 3, negative 3. So left 3, down 3. Negative 4, negative 9/2. So negative 4 and negative 4.5. Right in there. Then negative 5, negative 2. Okay. So here's what happened. This is what our W thing looks like. Okay. So notice from this one to this one, and I kind of look at this deep dip right here. Notice the deep dip right here was on the left. Now it's on the right. Well, that's because we reflected over the y-axis. So we took it, it was like this, and we went kapow, and now it's backwards. Reflected it over the y-axis. So it's like, I call it the single lady flip. Oh, the single ladies. Yeah, you get it. Then it also got compressed by 1/2. So that means we took it, we went, because we're only doing vertical compression. So it can only get bigger and smaller vertically. So we can either go stretchy or, which is what we did. We go smash it. And it went down 4. So we took it, we did a single lady flip, we smashed it, and then we took it down 4. Hopefully you're as entertained as I am. If you're not, sorry. Next, and last, we're going to stretch by a factor of 2, shift it up 3, and left 4, and we need to write that expression. So, I'm going to start with an F and an X, leaving a little room just in case I have to write a negative in front of that X. I don't know if I do or not yet. So, let's look at stuff. So first, I have a stretch by a factor of 2. So, if we don't know yet where that goes, we look up here and we find stretch. Where's the thing that's not an F or an X? It's an A, it's out front, and it's being multiplied. So, times 2 out front. So, 2 times and it went out front. And how do we do that? I don't know. Let's check. It says we multiply the y's by the number out front. Well, the number out front was 2. So our y's are going to get multiplied by 2. Put that in a happy cloud, because we're going to have to deal with that later. Next, I have a shift up 3. Where's up go? Well, up and down goes after the parentheses, and it does what it says. So up 3 is going to be a plus 3. So let's write that. That is going to be at the end, and it's going to be a plus 3. Ooh, that doesn't look very good. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we could flip it over. Let's see. up 3. Oh, hey, look, that one was up 3. So we're going to add 3. And we're going to add 3 to our y coordinates. So our y's are going to get 3 added to them at some point. And last but not least, I have a left 4. I can't decide what color I want to use. Left 4. Okay. So left is going to be, left and right are inside the parentheses. Left does the opposite of what you think, so it's going to add 4. Left and right is an x direction, so I'm going to take my x's and add 4. Okay, so in here, I've got a plus 4. Hey, timeout. Who did this? Stop it. Stop it, Mrs. Black. Do things correctly. Inside does the opposite, so even though it says plus 4 here, we're going to do the opposite, and we're going to subtract 4 from our x's. At least I caught myself before I had it graphed. Good grief. Inside does the opposite, so we're going to subtract 4. Okay, got that? Hopefully you do. So let's look and see what's happening first and second and third. Here I have multiplication, here I have addition, here I have subtraction. Multiplication, addition, subtraction. What's going to happen first? First is going to be the multiplication. Now addition and subtraction can actually happen at the same time because this is happening to the y's and this is happening to the x's. That's why you only have 2 boxes down here. So first, let's take my original ordered pairs, so going back to here, and we are going to take all of our y's and we are going to multiply by 2. So 3 times 2 is 6, negative 6 times 2 is negative 12, 2 times 2 is 4, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, and 4 times 2 is 8. And then I'm just going to write down my original x's because there's nothing to multiply the x's by, so nothing happened to them. They just slide down yonder. Now, what's happening next? Well, let's look. Second, it says my y's have to have 3 added to them. Good thing, because otherwise I couldn't graph that. And it says my x's have to have 4 subtracted from them. So let's get on this game. Negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10, negative 2 minus 4 is negative 6, 3 minus 4 is negative 1, 4 minus 4 is 0, 5 minus 4 is 1. Next, add 3 to all your y's. 6 plus 3 is 9, negative 12 plus 3 is negative 9, 4 plus 3 is 7, negative 2 plus 3 is 1, and 8 plus 3 is 11. I don't know why that needed to count laugh, but it did. Negative 10, 9. So I'm going to go left 10 and up 9. Negative 6, negative 9. So left 6, down 9. Negative 1, 7. So left 1, up 7. 0, 1, over 0, up 1. And 1, 11. So right 1 and up 11. And then do your best to connect this in a VW-like pattern. So let's see what happened. Okay, so looking at that deep V, it was on the left. Is it still on the left and still going in the same direction? Yes. So that tells me it didn't get reflected over anything. That's why it hasn't done the single lady flip or reflected over the X, which would flip it up like this. So it would look like a mountain. But what did happen from here to here is, did you notice that it went bigger? That's because of that stretch of 2. And it went to the left 4, and it went up 3. Okay, so that's all of our transformations. Don't forget to follow the order of operations. Make 2 sets of X, Y charts, one for your multiplication, one for your addition and subtraction. Good luck on your assignment, and let us know if you have questions.